These are some Commander Overperformers.
I'm your host, Joe Cherries.
I'm your host, BZ, joined by Ember, and that makes us the Nitpicking Nerds. Still videos every day. This is day number 654 in a row of videos. So if you like that and you want to make sure we can keep doing it, hashtag get to 1,000 streak, join our Patreon. We really appreciate it. And you give us dollars directly.
Yes, and we'll love you as much as we can without making you uncomfortable. Thank you all. Also, you can support us indirectly by buying your cards using our affiliate link to tcgplayer.com. That is a website that sells Magic cards, and if you start with our link, buy the same cards you were going to buy anyway, because who you kidding? You're going to buy Magic cards. You'll be supporting the nerds.
Wowza. And we're sponsored by Moxfield. There's going to be an ad later. You're not going to be able to guess where it is. Amber's ruining the mic. And happy birthday to everyone whose birthday is today.
Let's get into this video. Today is Overperformers. These are cards that we had some sort of internal grade for. We decided they were X good, and they've outperformed that, whether it be that they're really good or that we thought they were poop, and it's like, oh, they're actually good cards.
Yeah, we're like, oh, this was decent. Turns out it's great. Or this was poop. Turns out it's great.
Yeah, so let's hop right into it. Number one is Approach the Second Sun, and this is an alternative win con that I thought was kind of like
a joke.
Half memey, half more like a control win con. But I think you can really throw this into a lot of decks, especially ones that are really good at drawing a lot of cards, because you can just win the turn after casting this card often.
Yeah, it's really not hard to either mill, draw, or just look at 6 cards, and then you get the 7th one. Oh, there it is. I mean, we have combos like Dig Through Time. That's it. That's all you need to do. And then you just need to untap and cast it again. But we have so many board wipes and ways to clear the board, and there's probably even ways to reduce Approach to the Second Sun's cost.
Yeah, and on top of all of that, you can just cast this, put it back into your deck, and as long as you're not in a position where the board is just going to kill you, you'll have time, and you can just follow it up with a board wipe the next turn. Because even if everything at the board comes at you, most likely it's not going to kill you.
Yeah, you survive once. Now you got 6 cards until you have Approach, and you wipe the board. How fast are they going to develop?
I think this card is much stronger than I originally thought it was. And I think a lot of people actually knew that, but I think we were lower on it than most people.
Gotta respect the sun. Thopter Spy Network is the next one. This makes a Thopter if you have an artifact creature, and then if your artifact creatures hit a player, you draw a card. I just thought this card was complete trash, and I probably wouldn't play it. Part of the problem is it's not an artifact in your artifact deck, and it cares about artifacts, but only makes one if you have one. So it just looks like it doesn't work, but it kind of does work.
I just think that the artifact you get is so easy to achieve in your artifact decks. If you're playing a 3+ color deck, you get 3 tap lands and 3 on-colored ones, plus Treasure Vault, plus Darksteel Citadel. You just had 8 artifact lands right there. This is going to trigger every single turn unless somebody plays literally Bane of Progress. And even then, the indestructible lands still stay in play.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, but even for that, I know it's going to trigger most likely in an artifact deck. But me seeing it's not an artifact and having Bitter Blossom-esque text just threw me off, and it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I also think that one of the things that makes this card good is you can get your cards back right away. It has the pseudo haste going on, where if you play it and you have artifact creatures that can sneak through in play already, you're just going to start drawing cards the turn you play this card.
Plus, unlike in 1v1 Magic, you can draw 3 cards maximum per combat if you hit each other player.
Yes, very strong. Next, we have a card that we thought was good. Now, don't get us wrong. We thought this card was good, but this card turns out to be amazing, great, just over-the-top good. And it's Braids, Arisen Nightmare. It's 3 mana, 3/3. You sacrifice something on your end step, and they have to sacrifice something that shares a type with it, or they lose 2 life, and you draw a card. This card just is great. It really is great.
Bare minimum, every time I see this in play, it's draw 2, then the opponents who let you do that lose 2, and then somebody sacrifices a thing. And it's that's a 5 or a 3-for-1. And I got Braids already still in play. I'll just do it next turn. And there's decks that can get extra creative/dirty with this. If you're in some kind of green-black deck, it's oh, I'll ramp extra. I'll start sacrificing lands. Can you sacrifice lands? Probably not.
Yeah, also, you were saying that if people don't have the types, they have to lose a life. That's it's not even an option. This card gets really silly. I think I've never seen everybody sacrifice the thing. You always end up drawing at least 1 card with this. And all you have to do is sacrifice something stupid. The decks that play this are decks that have tons and tons of extra little resources, creatures, artifacts, just useless stuff.
Oh, I'll sack my Rune of Mortality. Can you sacrifice an enchantment on turn 4?
Exactly. And this is half the time they don't have one. And when they do, it's Smothering Tide. Are they going to sacrifice Smothering Tide? I don't think so.
That was the worst one to pick. Well, no, it's enchantment because it makes artifacts.
Yeah, exactly.
Next Overperformer is Grim Hireling. This card actually just kind of frustrates me whenever I read it. I just get mad at whoever designed it because this no universe needs to give you 2 treasures every time you connect with a player. That's just it almost feels like when you play this and you get 2 connections or more, it feels like an extra turn. And then you're just like, now you've got also, it removes things too, and it just does everything. And we knew it was great. Obviously this card's great, but it has just been like excellent.
I have literally played games where this has kept me in the game, essentially. I got stuck on 4 lands, but I had this out in little dorks that could sneak through. This card was a house. It kept me up on mana with other players. While other players were at 6, 7, 8, 9 lands, I was still on 3 with a mana rock. Didn't matter because I was still getting 6 mana every turn because of this. And on top of that, for some reason, this also has a way to use those treasures. Cash them in as a removal spell for whatever big threat is on the battlefield.
Just in case you didn't have a use for it.
Just in case. This card really is, it just does it all.
Yeah, it really does. I want the full cycle of connect with a player, get a treasure, and then second line of text, way to use the treasure. Because we got Facebreaker now.
Yeah, we have 2.
Let's keep it going.
Yeah.
Let's have the white one make 3 treasures.
Dang. What do you sacrifice to do?
It says sacrifice.
Gain life.
You already know. And then go to Moxfield.com, the best website for deck building. This is going to be a really long text box, so that everything else is still on the card. Moxfield is the best way to build decks. Not only is it free, easy to use, you can sort it and customize it basically to any whims you might have. It's very user-friendly, and there's a million ways to customize.
Oh, I know what I really love? I really love being able to sort to cheapest. Because over time, when you make a deck, you go, okay, I put in all the cards. It'll put in the cheapest versions if you have that setting on. But eventually, the cheapest version changes, especially with reprints. Mm-hmm. There's just a button that says change everything back to the cheapest version so you can see what the lowest cost is that you can get that deck at.
Yeah, that actually just came up. I have 3 decks that I'm trying to keep below $50. And with Redacted Site, I go in, I type the deck, great, it's under 50. Now, like, a week goes by, I go back into the deck, it's 53. What am I supposed to, I have to like look at every card and figure out what went up? How am I supposed to do that?
Yeah.
Or I can click update to cheapest, realize the deck's actually still 49 and be good.
And then sort by price, because if you're over, you can then sort by the price and see what the highest costing cards are in your whole entire deck.
Moxfield needs a nerf, but it will never get a nerf. It'll actually only get buffs as time goes on.
Yeah, and it's unfair to all the other redacted websites. Let's move on to, this is a 2-card combo, but they're both kind of the same thing.
It's not really a combo.
You're right, it's not a combo.
It's a combination.
It's a 2-card combination of cards. And it's Reckless Fireweaver and Ingenious Artillerist. Both say when an artifact enters, you deal damage to each opponent. They're worded differently because, like, Ingenious Artillerist says with 1 or more, deal that much damage. And Reckless Fireweaver triggers once per.
Fireweaver might be technically better because if you want to prevent it, the Artillerist deals it all at once. Who cares? They're the same card. And it just really adds up, especially when you mention, like, we have tokens that are artifacts, very easy to make. We have lands that are artifacts. So you're getting, like, not 2 triggers per turn. You could get, like, 5 triggers per turn.
Yeah, and this is one of the best win cons for your non-creature artifact decks. I think creature artifact decks have other ways to win, but non-creature artifact decks, just you're going to spam treasures, you're going to spam every single stupid artifact, and this is going to kill your opponent for you playing the game. Like, you're not doing anything special. Your game plan is to play artifacts. You're in an artifact deck. Okay, now those artifacts kill your opponent without any extra effort.
Yeah, and you can have these disgusting turns like, all right, untap with my Fireweaver and Artillerist, Brass's Bounty, break completely even on mana, deal like 20 damage, and then just cast more stuff.
Yeah, the cards really are that good in your artifact decks. It surprises me how well they perform because they look very okay. Like,
they look replaceable.
I definitely, at points in the past, probably a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, was like, I wouldn't put these in a deck. Like, I was like, these cards look terrible. Well, they don't fit. They're not a commander card. I just wouldn't play them. And they've shown to be completely otherwise than just actual staples of artifact decks.
Okay, next is a card wasn't on our radar even at all because I don't know if we'd ever played with or against it. But
I would have said this card was unplayable garbage. I would have made fun of you in one of our videos, our roasting videos.
Yeah.
And said, what? You're playing this stupid card? And we've been proven wrong because it has been pretty good.
Yeah, it's Life Gift. Whenever a land enters the battlefield, period, under anyone's control, you gain a life. Obviously, you kind of need ways to pay life or to have life gain synergies, but once you're doing Dina-esque things or life payment-esque things, this thing gets pretty dumb. It gains at least 4 life per go-around. We play a lot of fetches, so sometimes it's 5, and you just feel like you're on cloud 9. You get a nice buffer for when people are attacking you. It's way more than it looks like.
It's so silly because when you get this thing out early, turn 3 on the play, It's so much life for the rest of the game. You're also going to be playing in a deck that's going to ramp well, so you're going to gain yourself a ton of extra lives, and anything your opponent's doing is gaining you life too. This thing easily can gain somewhere between 10 and 30 life depending on how the game goes and when you play it.
But the best part is, when you look at this card, it looks like a piece of crap. And it's like, okay, what do I want to remove? Oh, I'm only stopping a couple life. It just doesn't look like it's worth removing, and it always is.
It is, yeah. It has the...
It's very sticky.
It's very sticky. It's not even sticky because it is easily removed. It's more that it looks non-threatening. Like it just sits there like it's not a Smothering Tide. Smothering Tide looks threatening.
Demands an answer.
Demands an answer, says, I need to be killed. This doesn't say it. Says, oh, I'm just a little life geek.
Oh, you played a land? Doop. I usually make a funny noise to make sure that no one thinks it's serious. Doot, you know.
And I always point out that it is serious.
And no one believes you.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe soon they will. But we're going to go on to an evolutionary leap. One of the best sack outlets in green, especially when in terms, maybe the best sack outlet in green when it comes to paying mana and not getting a free sack outlet. This thing just draws you a spell. It's going to be a live spell every single time. And you could just chain tokens, chain creatures, find, oh, here comes, there's got Llanowar Elves. Play it, sack it, go find something else.
Yeah, exactly. It just cycles through your deck, and any of your bad creatures you draw in the late game just turn into something else. You can get rid of them very, very easily. I have been pleasantly surprised, and actually, I have rebuilt Henzi off a budget, and I took it out, and this has been one of the cards I'm considering putting back in from the budget, because it just keeps drawing you into new creatures, new gas for whatever your deck is trying to do.
Like, they hold up 4 mana and pass a turn. Do you want a board wipe? Not really.
No, because
it's like, okay, I'll draw 4 creatures. See you next turn.
It's kind of it kind of acts like a Yawgmoth type thing where it draws you a card. 1 mana to draw a card by sacrificing a creature feels amazing.
It feels super good. And I guess there are universes where you could get real sneaky if you have like 7 creatures in your deck and you have a bunch of tokens. You just start chaining and basically tutoring.
Yeah, you can also do that. That's not as fun. Next, we have a 9 mana spell, Reshape the Earth. And now, this is one I never thought was bad. But I also never thought it was very good.
Kind of looks memey.
It does. It does kind of fit in that meme category.
Because I think like Maze's End.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you can get 10 lands. That's a lot. It's over the top. It's ridiculous. It's silly. But what it really does is it puts you in such a dominant land position that you're bound to win from there. Plus, Field of the Dead exists in this format, meaning you're always going to be able to search up and put 20 power onto the battlefield after resolving this.
Yeah, I think if Field of the Dead didn't exist, this card would be like noticeably way worse. Because it's like, all right, here we go. 9 mana, 10 lands, come at me. Versus like 9 mana, 10 lands, also 20 power over 10 bodies.
I think this card really shows the reason we should be playing cards like Urza's Silex, because cards like this exist.
How do you beat this?
How do you beat this deck without attacking the mana base? You really can't, because now they're at 20 lands most likely. They're going to draw all spells for the rest of the game because there's no lands left in their deck. This card is silly, over the top. Players of Silex as well. That card's great.
If you're playing Army of the Damned in your deck and you have Field of the Dead and you're green, just play Reshape the Earth instead.
It's literally Army of the Damned, but good.
Doesn't Army of the Damned put them in play tapped?
13 into play tapped.
Whoops.
Moving on, we have Bruce Taro, Boorish Herder, and this is a card that it's a partner, so it always had homes and decks, but I wouldn't play it anywhere else other than as the commander. And then it made it into the 99 decks, and you realize, 1, this triggers on attack. So
that's the thing that pushes it.
It just keeps doing it every single turn. And 2, it does it when it enters as well, meaning this ability has pseudo haste, because if it's on attacks, it's bad. If it's just an entry, it's bad.
Yeah.
But when it's both, the card's actually really strong.
Yeah, partners. And I also have this thought in my mind that partners were designed to be half a card that you get 2 of. None of the original ones were half a card. So
some of them.
Bruce Taro is just like his own thing. You could just play Bruce Taro as a commander or play it in the deck, and I'm like, yep, that makes sense.
Some of them are actually half a card.
Yeah.
And then other ones are Thrasios. And it's like,
yeah.
Why is Thrasios in here? It's like Bruce Taro kind of is half a card, but it's a better half a card than like most of them. Like,
well,
Bruce
I think
Taro should have been
the partner Bruce should have had one or the other.
The partner Bruce could have just been the top end of what partners were. Like, that's the best a partner gets.
Wow.
But there's like 10 better than him.
Yeah, so when you're not comboing, Bruce Taro's like, all right, big life boost. It doesn't go to Bruce, so you might have to kill the thing that he boosts, but he's going to boost something next turn. The Bruce boosts are real.
The Bruce is
you got to make a Bruce boost.
The Bruce is loose.
The Bruce, that's way easier to say.
It's actually from Bills, I think, used to say it for Bruce Smith. The Bruce is loose.
Yeah, that sounds right to me.
Yeah.
I can't think of anyone else that before. What is the next one?
Well, it's Last One Standing, and this is 3 mana to destroy all but 1 creature decided at random. This is just a 3 mana board wipe, period. that rarely has a downside because the thing it leaves behind is almost always some worthless dumb creatures. And we talk about how the less a board wipe costs, the better it is. 3 mana is as cheap as you can go for a straight up board wipe. This card is actually just amazing.
Yeah, I've played this early game too when I have 2 tokens, everybody else has a creature. It's like, great, I'll just wipe all the things. Most likely, I'll kill guaranteed I'll kill at least 2 of those utility creatures, and I have nothing, so I don't care what happens. And sometimes I'll get super lucky and keep my dude. This thing, it's like the chaos warp of board wipes, where, yeah, it could backfire a little bit, but it's still worth playing, I think, all the time.
And the bigger, the scarier the board gets,
the less likely
it is you're going to leave that thing behind. There's always certain threats that you don't want to leave behind. Like, you're going to cast this, and you're going to be like, there's 2 cards where it's like, if they stay, this was a bad cast. But it's like, that's not what happens 95% of the time. Maybe 1 in 20 times. It's like, the worst creature that could have stayed stays.
Right, but you still removed every other creature, and you only spent 3 mana, so now you can take the rest of your turn. And if you have Last One Standing plus a removal spell, you just don't care at all.
Not even remotely, because then you can just literally wipe the board, and then if the thing stays, like, I'll get it out of here.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, and if you want to see some more Overperformers, we've been doing this 4 or 5 times now.
Every couple months.
Check out one of our other videos.
They're really good.
Peace out, Tribe Scouts.